Anyone who is a fan of Stranger Things will be aware of the term the Hellfire Club. They may not be aware, though, that it was very real. So what was it? Where was it, and who were its members? Let's have a look at the facts and legends surrounding the Hellfire Club. Hellfire Club was a term used to describe several exclusive clubs for high society rakes established in Great Britain and Ireland in the 18th century. The name most commonly refers to Francis Dashwood's Order of the Friars of St. Francis of Wickham. Such clubs, rumour had it, served as the meeting places of persons of quality who wished to take part in what were socially perceived as immoral acts, and the members were often involved in politics. Neither the activities nor membership of the clubs are easy to ascertain. The clubs allegedly had distant ties to an elite society known only as the Order of the Second Circle. The first official Hellfire Club was founded in London in 1718 by Philip Wharton, 1st Duke of Wharton, and a handful of other high society friends. The most notorious club associated with the name was established in England by Francis Dashwood, and it met irregularly from around 1749 to around 1760, and possibly up until 1766. Other groups, described as Hellfire Clubs, were set up throughout the 18th century. Most of these arose in Ireland after Wharton's had been dissolved. The most famous of these is Montpelier Hill, better known as a Hellfire Club to Dubliners. It's a lovely place for a walk and has a variety of short forest trails and provides wonderful views of the city from the southwest. Montpelier Hill is a 383-metre hill in Dublin, which is topped by the Hellfire Club, the popular name given to the ruined building. This building was an occasional summer residence built in around 1725 by William Connolly, also known as Speaker Connolly. He was an Irish Whig politician, Commissioner of Revenue, lawyer and landowner. He was an influential figure in Irish politics, serving as Speaker of the Irish House of Commons between 1715 and his death in 1729. It was originally called Montpelier, and since its construction, the hill has also gone by the same name. The building and hill were respectively known locally as the Brass Castle and Bevan's Hill, but the original Irish name of the hill is no longer known, although the historian and archaeologist Patrick Healy has suggested that the hill is a place known as Sheedy Calig or Sheed Cayley in the Creed V, the 12th century diocesan register book of the Archbishops of Dublin. Montpelier is the closest to Dublin city of the group of mountains that form the ridge that bounds the Glenasmole Valley. On the slopes is a forestry plantation known as Hellfire Wood, which consists of Sitka spruce, larch and beech. On the weekends you'll find it busy with urbanites escaping the city and dogs running free. At the top sits a large hunting lodge where, if the stories are to be believed, some very ominous events have taken place. Originally, at the top of Montpelier Hill, there was an ancient passage grave with a cairn of stones stacked on it. Then William Speaker Connolly, one of the wealthiest men in Ireland, came along and built a hunting lodge on the same site in 1725. Connolly is said to have destroyed the cairn while building the lodge, using one of the grave's standing stones as a lintel for his fireplace. While the building has a rough appearance today, the architecture is of a Palladian design. The upper floor consists of a hall and 2 reception rooms. On the eastern side there was a third timber-floored level, where the sleeping quarters were located. On the ground floor are a kitchen, servants' quarters and stairs to the upper floors. The entrance, which is on the upper floor, was reached by a long flight of stairs which is now missing. At each side of the building is a room with a lean-to roof, which may have been used to stable horses. A stone mounting block to assist people onto their horses can be seen on the eastern side. To the front there was a semicircular courtyard, enclosed by a low stone wall and entered by a gate. The house faces to the north, looking over Dublin and the plains of Meath and Kildare. including Connolly's primary residence at Castletown House in Selbridge. The grounds around the lodge consisted of a 1,000-acre deer park. The identity of the architect is unknown. The author Michael Fewer has suggested it may have been Edward Lovett Pierce, who was employed by Connolly to carry out works at Castletown in 1724. It was named Montpelier by Connolly, but over the years has also been known as the Haunted House, the Shooting Lodge, the Kennel, and Connolly's Folly. It was one of several exclusive establishments using the name Hellfire Club that existed in Britain and Ireland in the 18th century. Sometime later, the roof of the secluded lodge was blown off during a storm. The locals reckoned that aggrieved spirits seeking vengeance for the cairn's destruction were responsible, and so the tales began. Connolly had the roof replaced with an arched stone roof constructed in a similar fashion to that of a bridge. This roof has remained intact to the present day, even though the building has been abandoned for over 2 centuries, and despite the roof being set alight with tar barrels during the visit of Queen Victoria to Ireland in 1849. There is little evidence that the lodge was put to much use. Connolly himself died in 1729. Over time, fact and fiction have become so intertwined that it's impossible to separate them. But why let that ruin a good story? After Connolly's death, the lodge was sold and it's said to have become a meeting place for the Irish Hellfire Club. Its members met at locations across Dublin and were known for their amoral behaviour and debauchery involving alcohol and sex. The Irish Hellfire Club members were some of the elite of society and included peers of the realm, high-ranking army officers, as well as wealthy gentlemen and artists. It is possible to see some of the members of the Irish Hellfire Club in the National Gallery of Ireland, where you find a portrait by James Worsdale. The portrait depicts, from left to right, Henry Barry, 4th Baron of Santry, Colonel Henry Clements, Colonel Henry Ponsonby, Colonel Richard St. George, and Simon Luttrell, 1st Earl Carhampton. All 5 are splendidly attired. A wicker-covered bottle stands on the table sitting within a silver punch bowl, and a second bottle lies discarded in the lower right corner, and a small dog raises an imploring paw to Henry Barry, who has an affectionate hand petting its scruff. Barry appears to be introducing the viewer to the group, perhaps suggesting that it was he that commissioned the portrait. Somewhat strangely, the portrait doesn't depict 2 key members of the organisation, the painter himself, James Worsdale, who did depict himself in a later portrait of the activities of the Limerick Hellfire Club, or Richard Parsons, the 1st Earl of Ross, who is believed to have been one of the leading members of the Irish Hellfire Club. Most of their meetings occurred in Dublin city centre at the Eagle Tavern on Cork Hill, near Dublin Castle. Accounts of the club's meetings claim that members drank scalthine, a mixture of whisky and hot butter, and that they left a chair vacant at each gathering for the devil. The club's mascot was a black cat. At some stage, the lodge at Montpelier was led to the club by the Connolly family. Coincidentally, William Connolly had purchased Montpelier Hill from Philip, Duke of Wharton, founder of the first Hellfire Club in 1719. It is not clear to what extent, if any, the Hellfire Club made use of the building. The author Michael Fewer has suggested that the remoteness of Montpelier's location is why there are almost no verifiable accounts of the activities that went on there. However, numerous stories surrounding the building have become part of local folklore, some of which have spread to a wider audience through a publication in the 19th century in books such as Robert Chambers' Book of Days in 1864, and in the Gentleman's Magazine from 1731 to 1922. The secrecy surrounding the club led to speculation that its members were Satanists and devil worshippers. The president was named the King of Hell and dressed like Satan with horns, wings and hooves. The members were also said to set a place at each meeting for the devil, in the hope that he'd attend. The members were also said to hold black masses in the lodge, during which cats and even servants were sacrificed. Some say the lodge was deliberately set on fire in order to enhance the building's hellish atmosphere. However, the best-known Hellfire Club story is the one in which the devil himself appears. According to legend, a stranger joined the club members at a game of cards. Then, when one of the players dropped a card on the floor, he bent down to retrieve it and saw that the stranger had cloven hooves instead of feet. Another popular tale concerns a young farmer who was curious to find out what went on at the club's secretive meetings. Climbing up Montpelier Hill, he was invited in by the members and allowed to witness the night's activities. The young man was found the next morning trembling and terrified. Tradition says he spent the rest of his life unable to speak, unable to even remember his name. A black cat features in one of the most famous tales. In this story, another young man visiting a local farmhouse goes to uncover the activities of the club, and the next morning he's found dead. His host and the local priest, believing him to have been murdered, went up to the Hellfire Club to investigate. Upon his arrival at the lodge, he sees a banquet laid out and a black cat prowling the room. However, this is no normal cat, it's huge. The priest also notices that it has ears shaped like horns. Happening to have a small bottle of holy water in his pocket, the priest decides to attempt an exorcism. The result tears the beast apart. Outside, the host is found lying on the ground, his face and neck deeply scratched by claws. Today, the Hellfire Club remains burnt out and abandoned on Montpelier Hill, and you'll find the remains located in the Dublin Mountains, about a 30-minute drive south of the city centre. Montpelier Hill isn't easily accessible by public transport, but a nearby car park opens at 7 a.m. each morning and remains open until 5 p.m. in the winter and 9 p.m. from April until October. The Dublin Mountains Partnership recommends 2 walking trails in the area: the 5.5-kilometre Hellfire Forest Loop and the less strenuous 4-kilometre Montpelier Loop. The excavation of a 5,000-year-old passage tomb, located at the Hellfire Club on Montpelier Hill, overlooking Dublin, was significant for a number of reasons. It's the first excavation of a passage tomb in about 20 years, and its location on a hill with sweeping views down across the Irish capital city makes it a truly unique archaeological dig. However, the dig, led by Neil Jackman of Abarta heritage, was significant for another reason. The dig did help to prove that the monument is in fact the remains of a Neolithic passage tomb. Regrettably, the monument has been much disturbed and partially destroyed. Large amounts of cairnstones were removed for the construction of the building. You can also climb up to the 300-year-old Hellfire Club at the top of Montpelier Hill. Here, the view looking out over Dublin city is glorious on a sunny day. However, at night time it is still not a place to be after dark. People have reported unusual smells and a strange atmosphere. The traces of satanic rituals have also been discovered. Or so they say.
As the convoy of carriages left the city and made their way towards Montpelier Hill, Nora became uneasy. As children, they had been told tales of the Hellfire Club and the terrible events which were rumoured to have happened there. Breed explained in a gentle manner, "The site is chosen as our meeting place for a reason. It is one of our ancient sites, and if humans have the temerity to build on one of our sites, then unfortunate things will occur." Nora looked puzzled. "Did the devil not appear there?" she inquired. Breed laughed. "Nora, you have much to learn, and tonight might be a big part of that education. There is no devil, just a Christian's attempt to demonize the old gods. In this case, Canunus, the Lord of the Forest, who is a horned god. If he appeared to remind humans that they were trespassing on our land, is that not his right?" Their conversation was interrupted when Nora was startled by a sudden movement in the darkness. "It's only the wolves," Breed reassured her friend. "Do not fear, they are on our side." "There are no wolves in Ireland," Nora replied. Breed smiled and told her she would understand in time. Approaching the summit of Montpelier Hill, they could see it was shrouded in a thick mist. The carriage in front completely disappeared into it. Nora expected a thick fog to surround the carriage, but instead it was a thin wall of mist, like a curtain they had passed through. Nora gasped at the sight. She had been on a few adventures to the Hellfire Club, always in daylight, as nobody dared approach at night time. But it had been a ruin. There it stood in perfect condition. Light beamed through the large central windows, and carriages were pulling up outside. That's a small excerpt from my book, The Chosen, which is, that particular chapter is set around Montpelier Hill and the Hellfire Club. It's a book about the old gods and their involvement in early 18th century life in Ireland through their chosen acolytes. If it sounds like the kind of story you'd like, it's available on Amazon at the moment, and I will leave a link in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video that you just watched and found it interesting. If you did, would you please like, subscribe and hit the notification button so that you will get more information about videos that we are going to be releasing on a very regular basis now. Slán agus beannacht. Goodbye.